Why?
She's really putting me on the spot.
All right, so today we want to talk about food struggles and then what types of things we're doing now to get out of the rut in terms of these food struggles. A lot has to do with technology, right? So what types of food type struggles have you encountered over your life?
Types of food struggles?
Yeah. Times in your life that you probably didn't feel as healthy as you wanted to.
Yeah. I would say probably, I've never had necessarily a weight problem, but there's definitely when the boys were little, I guess is probably the time that resonates most with me because I remember just feeling exhausted all the time. Probably partly because I had 2 little kids.
Yep.
But now that I've sort of changed my habits, I can feel such a difference. And even when I am exhausted, it still feels different than it did back then. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like less foggy.
Because you're eating better now.
Because I'm eating better now. So able to, and I wasn't eating horribly back then when they were little. But when I look back at some of the choices I was making and I look back at pictures from that time, even though I wasn't overweight, I can see like that I was definitely more inflamed.
Yeah, you were inflamed. What about, because you are more slender, what about not eating enough? Did you ever have anything like that when you were younger?
No.
No?
No. That is something that I keep an eye on now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
She's really putting me on the spot. Because I have a tendency to, because I'm in a very healthy state, or I feel like I'm in a very healthy state.
Yeah.
I want to maintain that, so I tend to get a little bit anxious around it, and I can be a little less flexible with eating something sort of outside of what I would typically eat, or eating more than I would normally eat.
So when you get stressed, do you eat more or do you eat less?
Probably less.
I eat more. You eat less?
Yeah.
Okay. So I eat more. You know that.
I do know that.
Because you live with me.
I do know
yes. I've always eaten more, right? Because of, and we've talked about this before on previous times we've talked, but my being so sporty, right? Always playing these sports. So always working. I mean, even after college, when I played football, I did intramural stuff into my mid-20s. So I'm still, I'm probably like 15 years now of trying to work on establishing this healthy, not even 15, probably 10, because I just stopped kind of exercising real hard because I went from on a team sport to intramural sport to pretty much exercising on my own as a sport. Yeah. And I just stopped that a couple of years ago. So I'm still working on this, trying to establish a healthy relationship with the food, because as an athlete, it's very easy to binge eat or eat a ton, right? During the season and burn a lot of the calories off. And then when it comes to the off season, you eat a lot or eat whatever you want because you always know that the next season's coming around. So
you would compensate for your overeating through exercise and sports, or justify it.
Yeah, I think it's really common.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say so.
Even when I was, even out of season, right? I would still be saying I didn't really care what I ate because I would always lose it again during the season, right? Because the intensity was so high during season that I always felt like I could just lose it all then. So I became very comfortable putting on weight and then shedding it off, then putting it on and shedding it off. Yeah. That routine.
But that becomes harder. And
that becomes very unhealthy.
It becomes very unhealthy, but it also becomes harder. And not that we're old by any means, but even as I'm nearing 40, which is scary, I can see that it's not as easy to kind of bounce back as it used to be, right? Yeah. And I think we both feel like now is the time to really get a good handle on some of those habits so that it isn't a struggle.
I feel like, to me, the Maureen's meals that you do, that you post on Instagram and stuff, that's accountability and stuff that I see that. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there are other things that, as you know, I want to share with everyone that I've just gotten into because of that accountability factor, right? So I've been big into looking in these apps, right? These like iPhone apps. I've got an iPhone, so I found ones like Weight Watchers has now changed themselves to WW, right? Noom, Noom is another one. Lifesum, MyFitnessPal. All of these apps are, back when I checked them out years ago, just to see what was out there, they were all calorie counting weight loss apps. Now the theme is really transitioned to a holistic health and wellness approach. So they do, some of these still do count calories, but they're more so looking at the foods that you're eating and kind of tiering them in terms of how, like for Newman, for example, is calorie density, right? So green leafy vegetables don't have aren't very calorie dense, right? So they don't have a lot of calories per whatever you eat.
Yeah.
While red meats, fast food, stuff like that, those are higher calorie density. So that's how they categorize it. So I'm actually doing the free trial with that, and I really like it so far. And I've showed you a bunch of stuff. What are probably the most standout things that you've seen that I've shown you from that?
Well, I think it goes back to like what I was talking about in the beginning. Even when you think you're eating healthy, there's certain foods that you, even though they're deemed a health food, you shouldn't be eating as much of.
Yeah.
And I think that was a struggle.
Yeah.
Back in the day, because it is very confusing. Back in the day for me, I should say, it is very confusing. But I forget what you put in. Oh, when we had the nachos last night.
Oh yeah.
The Kiorn that we use, which is just like
it's mushroom.
It's mushroom, but you can season it up and whatever, so it tastes like ground beef.
It looks just like ground beef.
The boys call it mystery meat.
Mystery meat. They still don't know what it is, right? They don't know.
They don't know it's mushrooms.
Yeah.
So don't tell the boys. But that came up as red.
Yep.
Even though it's plant-based. So that's a good reminder that, all right, yeah, this is a healthier option than ground beef, but that still doesn't mean you should be eating it in, exorbitant amounts.
Exactly. And what I've, in the past, 4 days since I've been using, actually, I've just been putting my stuff in there, maybe the last 2. And I've realized that some of the stuff will go in there as red, and I'm like, oh, that's bad. And then I'm like, that's not supposed to be there. But in reality, it is supposed to be there, but yet you're not supposed to eat a ton. And when you see, what I like about these apps, Lifesum, I know the WW one is like this too. As you eat throughout the day and as you log some stuff, you'll be able to see that you're already pretty calorie dense early in the day, right? So then that will cause you to hopefully choose a better option later in the day. Because I think where stuff can really start spiraling out of control is when you eat the calorie dense in the morning, and then that leads to the lunch and then the afternoon as well.
Yeah.
But it allows you to check in. So the WW app, the Weight Watchers app, is, I think, one of the best apps I've seen in a while. They actually have a little part where you can check off what's in your fridge, and then it'll give you a whole bunch of recipes based off of those. That's a subscription one, like a monthly subscription. That's more expensive compared to some of the other stuff. Then you got Noom, which is a monthly subscription too. And they've got, what I've liked about that is that they have these little quizzes and explanations to help you try to teach you how to break these bad habits or bad food habits. They actually set you up with a little a specialist or goal specialist or something like that.
Yeah, like a coach, I think.
Yeah, and I guess you can text them on there. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I'll let you guys know how that goes. That's interesting to me. But that person can be kind of like you, how you never look at me when I say, I'm going to go get pizza on my own. You go, okay. You never give me any sort, you're not like old school, like sports reference. You're not like my coach that gives me tough love, right? Because that's not your job. That's not your responsibility. So possibly we'll see if this specialist or whatever is like a little tough lovish.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't want to say hopefully. No.
Yeah.
But I think you go through periods where you're seeking that a little bit more. Like you want somebody on the outside to kind of bring you back in.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to play that, to be that person. And
it's actually worked out really well for us that you don't play that.
Yeah.
Because then you end up resenting that person at some point.
Yeah.
Like this coach, if they're like that, I'm going to end up resenting them at some point.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then the fitness apps. The fitness apps that are out there these days. I just started checking all these out again because they have come a long way in the last 2 years, 3 years since I looked at them, like I logged back into MyFitnessPal and it was 2016?
Yep.
2016 I was back in there logging stuff, checking it out, and they have come so far. So MyFitnessPal, the Fitness Plus, Apple Fitness Plus app, right?
Which we talked about.
Yep, and the Peloton. Oh no, Apple Fitness Plus is the workout one. Have we talked about that already?
We talked about that one in the
last time?
video. Yeah.
And the Peloton one. Those are still going great. Those are a monthly subscription too, but I mean now with the pandemic and stuff, it's like I see the biggest issue is, I mean, people really have to start taking more accountability on their own, and we haven't really in this society raised us to operate that way.
Well, I also think one of the benefits of those, whether it's the fitness app or the food apps, I think what's changing is that there's a much more personalized approach to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not this one size fits all. And that's the problem I think we ran into when we started reading more about nutrition, and we sort of put ourselves in a box, and we were going to eat this way, and there were foods that were good and there were foods that were bad, and we weren't really taking into account like overeating the good foods, which shows up on your app. But I think you really just have to find an approach that works for you, and even if that means every once in a while you're going to go get pizza, well, great.
Try a bunch of them and see what fits. I mean, there's a big difference between someone that's raised and grown up eating pasta every night to someone that's eating Hot Pockets, right? Like when they are craving a particular type of food, they crave something completely different because of those habits that they were raised with. Yeah. How much time we got left?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, really? Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's about it, unless you got anything else to say. I'm trying to keep these below 15 for you guys so we can chop them up and they're more digestible, all right? So we'll catch you later.